In the dimly lit corner of a cluttered studio, Jamie sat hunched over their canvas, a myriad of colors swirling together under their deft brushstrokes. The room was a cacophony of half-finished paintings, empty coffee cups, and discarded brushes, all testament to the months of relentless preparation. Jamie's heart pounded with a mixture of excitement and dread as they added the final touches to their centerpiece, emotion in motion. Every stroke, every color was a reflection of their inner turmoil and deep-seated emotions. Jamie paused, wiping a bead of sweat from their brow, and stepped back to take in the chaotic beauty of their work. It was an explosion of vivid hues, blues and reds clashing and blending into purples and oranges, the brush strokes wild and untamed. They felt a surge of pride mingled with a gnawing fear that no one would understand their vision. The thought of unveiling this piece to the public for the first time sent shivers down Jamie's spine. Is this enough? Will they get it? Jamie whispered to themselves, their voice barely audible over the sound of their racing thoughts. They had poured their soul into this piece, hoping it would communicate what words never could. Art had always been Jamie's sanctuary, a place where they could explore their emotions freely, but now it was time to share that sanctuary with the world. Jamie carefully packed Emotion in Motion and the other pieces into their beat-up old van, their hands trembling slightly. The drive to the community center was a blur, filled with rehearsed conversations and imagined criticisms. Arriving at the bustling exhibition, Jamie felt their anxiety spike. The center was a hive of activity, with artists setting up their displays and art enthusiasts milling about, chatting animatedly. Taking a deep breath, Jamie hauled their artwork inside, trying to ignore the confident voices and laughter surrounding them. Setting up their display, they couldn't help but notice Alex, their charismatic rival, effortlessly charming a small crowd with his polished, traditional pieces. Alex's landscapes and portraits, captured in exquisite detail, drew admiring glances and murmurs of approval. Jamie. Alex's voice cut through the air like a knife, his smile wide and eyes glinting with a hint of condescension. I see you brought your unique style again. Always pushing the boundaries, huh? Jamie forced a smile, nodding. Yeah, something like that. Alex's gaze flickered to Emotion in Motion, a barely concealed smirk playing on his lips. Well, good luck. It's always interesting to see how people react to experimental art. Jamie clenched their fists, the dismissive tone of Alex's words stoking the embers of their insecurities. They focused on finishing their setup, each piece a testament to their unique vision. As the final artwork was hung, Jamie took a step back, trying to calm their racing heart. As the exhibition began to fill with more visitors, Jamie couldn't help but observe Alex's showcase from a distance. His traditional oil paintings, depicting serene landscapes and lifelike portraits, were a stark contrast to Jamie's abstract forms. The detail in Alex's work was impressive, each brush stroke meticulously planned and executed. Visitors flocked to his display, their faces lighting up with admiration. That's just beautiful, isn't it? One woman exclaimed, her eyes lingering on a painting of a tranquil seaside at sunset. Absolutely, another man agreed. It's so real. You can almost feel the breeze. Jamie's heart sank a little. The sheer volume of praise Alex received was daunting, a reminder of the challenge they faced. It wasn't that Jamie didn't appreciate Alex's skill, there was undeniable talent in those pieces, but the traditional beauty felt so distant from their own chaotic, emotion-driven work. The sound of a bell signaled the official start of the exhibition, and Jamie found a spot where they could unobtrusively observe the crowd's reaction to their display. People wandered by, some pausing to examine the vibrant colors and bold strokes, others moving on quickly, puzzled expressions on their faces. Interesting use of color, one man murmured to his companion, who nodded uncertainly. I'm not sure I get it, another visitor said, brow furrowed. Jamie's stomach twisted with each comment. They felt exposed, vulnerable, every critical glance a dagger to their confidence. Yet, there were moments of hope. A young woman stood transfixed before Emotion in Motion, her eyes wide with wonder. This is incredible, she whispered, almost to herself. It's like I can feel the emotions coming off the canvas. Jamie's heart soared at her words, a small validation amidst the sea of doubt. They watched as she moved closer, examining every detail with genuine fascination. It was moments like this that reminded Jamie why they created art in the first place: to connect, to communicate, to evoke emotion. Jamie's pulse quickened as a group of art critics entered the hall, their sharp eyes and murmured discussions casting a palpable tension over the room. Among them was Mrs. Lorraine Thompson, a renowned critic known for her keen insights and unflinching honesty. Jamie's breath caught as they approached, each step echoing like a heartbeat in their ears. The critics moved methodically through the exhibition, their reactions varying from intrigued nods to dismissive shrugs. When they reached Alex's display, there was an audible murmur of approval. Mrs. Thompson lingered on one of his landscapes, her expression thoughtful. "Exquisite detail," she remarked, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "Technically flawless." Alex beamed, basking in the praise, while Jamie's anxiety peaked. The critics moved on, inching closer to Jamie's display. Every second felt like an eternity. When they finally reached Emotion in Motion, there was a moment of silence, each critic taking in the vivid chaos of the piece. Mrs. Thompson's gaze lingered on the canvas, her expression unreadable. "This is intriguing," she said slowly, her voice thoughtful. "There's a raw emotion here, a depth that's not immediately apparent but grows the longer you look at it." The other critics exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement, others looking skeptical. Jamie's heart pounded in their chest, a mix of fear and hope swirling within them. As the critics moved on, Mrs. Thompson approached Jamie, her eyes keen and inquisitive. "Jamie, isn't it?" Jamie nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, Mrs. Thompson. I must say, your work is quite different from what we usually see," she began, her tone measured. "There's a raw, untamed quality to it. It's like a glimpse into your soul." Jamie's breath caught in their throat. "Thank you. I try to express my emotions through my art. It's not always easy to put into words." Mrs. Thompson nodded, her gaze piercing yet kind. "That's evident. However, while the emotion is palpable, some of the technical aspects could use refinement. There's potential here, but it needs to be honed, sharpened." Jamie nodded, absorbing her words. It was a validation they desperately needed, but also a challenge to improve, to push their boundaries further. "I understand. Thank you for your feedback." Mrs. Thompson's lips curved into a small smile. "Don't be discouraged. True art is not about immediate understanding, it's about evoking something deep within the viewer. Keep pushing, and you'll find your voice." As she walked away, Jamie felt a mix of relief and determination. The day had been a whirlwind of emotions, but they were now more resolved than ever to pursue their unique vision. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, Jamie felt a glimmer of confidence that they could carve their own place in the art world. The heated discussions following Mrs. Thompson's critique lingered in the air, creating a palpable tension within the exhibition hall. Jamie could hear fragments of conversations as they moved through the crowd, their hearts still pounding from the encounter. "I think Jamie's work is revolutionary," an art student declared, eyes alight with passion. "It's a bold statement about the human condition." A middle-aged man, arms crossed and expression skeptical, shook his head. "It's too chaotic. There's no structure, no clear message. Art should be about skill and clarity, like Alex's work." Jamie's stomach twisted with every word, the debate amplifying their